when Trump was being when he was trying to build and develop buildings and things like that, the mob controlled a lot of the unions, right? So he must have had some dealings with the mob somehow, some way, right?
Well, listen, and again, people need to understand that if you were a developer in New York, you had to deal with the unions and you had to deal with the mob because we controlled all the labor unions, not some of them, all of them. So any developer that wanted to get a job done had to deal with us if we felt it was a significant enough job for us to get involved in. Now, obviously, Trump was significant, like Jerry Gutterman and like some of the other people there but to say that he was mobbed up would not be right because he did what he had to do, like every other developer, to get his buildings built. So, and I look, I knew his one of his attorneys, Roy Cohen. I met Donald through Roy for a second. He may not even. I mean, I know he knows my name, but we had no relationship. I never heard of anybody controlling Donald Trump. With all the meetings that we're in, because I was heavily involved in contracting. I never heard that Donald was mobbed up. Nobody ever said that, and I would have known that for sure.
Right.
So, it's unfair to paint that brush on him. I can, I'd say, and I have no. If it was true, I'd say yeah, it was true. I mean, he's president. What are they going to do to him? At that point. But so it's not fair to say that.
Right. So what was the reason behind or reasons that the mob got involved with the unions? Like, I understand that there's power in numbers, but what were some of the things that you could have, with one phone call, you call whoever's in charge under you for that union, and what can you do? What were some of the things you could cause if something didn't go your way?
Well, listen, here's a perfect scenario. There was the big non-union job, a contracting job out in Queens. Basically, there were about 4,000 apartments that were being converted into co-ops at that time, like condominiums, co-ops.
Yeah.
And the person that worked for the builder, the owner, was a good friend of mine, and he was the general contractor on the job. So he called me. He said, "Look, the unions are pounding on us, Michael, and if we get a union in here, it's going to cost several $1 million more." He said, "Can you help?" And I said, "I can." So basically, we kept the union out, but we kept it out for a fee from the contractor. In other words, we'll keep the union out, but you're going to give us X amount of dollars for every apartment that you convert. And when I say keep the union out, instead of having 10 union workers, we're going to give you one, and you'll pay his salary because that covers you. We'll take care of the rest. So, that's one way that you got control. Another way, waitresses and bartenders union. I had control over one of the locals. We would send somebody into a restaurant that was non-union. We're going to unionize. The owner says, "No, I don't want a union." Okay, then we're going to picket every day, morning, noon, and night in front of your building until you say yes. Then they come to me. "Okay, I'll keep the union out, but every Christmas you give me 20 grand, and don't worry about it. Now I just saved you several $100,000 in pension fees and everything else that goes with an employer." So that's the power of a union. Also, you had huge pension funds. Let me tell you, Vegas was built on union pension funds. Okay, that's how it was built. That's where the money came from. The latter part of Vegas. So, when you control that kind of money and you have that kind of power, Teamsters. Hey, we call a strike. You got 2.5 million workers that stop driving trucks around the country.
Wow.
You call a strike at the dock. Nothing goes in and out of the country. No goods. So that's tremendous power.
Yeah.
Tremendous power. You control the unions in this country. Is during my day. It's a little bit different now. You control the country.
Wow. So
Also politically, remember, hey, you got the Teamster vote. You tell, but here's what we want in return. Well, that's a lot.
yeah. So leading into the movie The Irishman and Jimmy Hoffa, I enjoyed the movie. Was that an accurate portrayal of what was going on at the time with him?
No, that Frank Sheeran was not the shooter in Jimmy Hoffa deal. He was not. Nor was he the shooter in the Joe Gallo deal. So it was a fabrication. It's been debunked, by law enforcement and the media and everybody else. I don't know how they bought into that, but they did. And so it wasn't accurate. I mean, there were certain things in the movie that were accurate, but the basic premise, not accurate at all.
I heard you have some tapes about Jimmy Hoffa and perhaps who had, who was involved in that and maybe where he's
Yeah,
been.
I do, Matthew. And here's the deal. So many people have come forward and said, I know where Hoffa's buried. And it's all been nonsense, as you can see. People trying to make money. One guy's selling a book, and they come up with this story. I believe I know who killed Hoffa. 100, I believe it 100%. I would take it to the bank. And I got tapes. But they're never going to find the body. And without the body, it's all just, it's another guy making a claim. And I don't believe they'll ever find the body. If what the person is telling me is accurate, they're never going to find it. So what's the sense in coming forward with another story just to be sensational? But I do have the tapes, and maybe at some point in time I'll reveal them, and I'll reveal them exactly the way I'm revealing them now.
Right.
I haven't seen the body. I wasn't the shooter, but I believe this to be accurate. And here's you take it for what it's worth. And if you want to go look for the body, go ahead, but it's going to be very difficult to find.